Hello, everybody. Afternoon. I'm here with Bridget Barnes from Boys Town's Common Sense Parenting Program, and we are getting ready for the holidays. Last couple of work days are dwindling down, and
countdown begins.
The flight is on. Parents are losing their minds and getting everything together. So it's only appropriate we talk about how to keep our kids in line and well behaved and cover some of those basic discipline tactics for the holidays, especially.
Okay, well let's talk about
Let's get it started.
Okay.
So when it comes to discipline in the holidays, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see parents making?
Getting off their routine. Getting so far off that it's hard to reel kids in. So I know that you're going to get off your routine from time to time. Parents are going to have to do that because of travel and the holidays. But try to have some things that are going to happen consistently. Get up in the morning at this time. We eat at this time. That certain routines are maintained so that it won't be so hard to transition back when it's time to go back to school, back to the way things are. So try to keep some parts of your routine always there so the kids know it's just not I can sleep forever and I don't have to wash my face ever or make my bed.
Sleep especially, I think, leads to so many issues when it comes to the holidays.
Yes.
Kids are up later, kids aren't getting near as much sleep, and then everyone's just more agitated. So
we pack a lot into the holiday, and so you have to kind of be mindful of that. You know, how does that work into our routine? Can we do when to say no to things and when to say yes, this is important, we're going to break the routine because of that. So so that's one of the things. It's just really getting off your routine. I would think just sometimes kids begin to believe that the holiday is all about them. And it is, really, it is. But sometimes they can get very demanding. And so parents, you want your kids to be good. And when they start being naughty, especially at the holidays in front of all your relatives,
that's never embarrassing.
Never
embarrassing.
So, what to do with that. And just,
and how do you handle that? So what's the best way to approach that when your kids are acting up in front of everyone? Well, when you're in the situation, just quietly remove them. The more audience you have, the worse it gets. So you can get the child out of the area. If you can ask everybody to leave, if you're in another little area, that's fine. Just getting them on their own, you might find that they'll be more cooperative. Quietly correcting them, pulling them to the side. So when I go to the mall, I see where this cove is, where this bench is, where the double doors are. I give kids a chance to correct their behavior before we get back out to the car. You plan your exit.
Yes.
Before you, I love this.
The exit. And I tell kids ahead of time, this is how it's going to go. This is what the expectation. And I have kind of a time clock on kids. Kids can't take too much of let's be at the mall all day long. So let's have a time limit to it. When it goes off and my phone starts beeping, it's the countdown to get out of there.
Right. I think expectations is a big thing.
It is.
I think we forget sometimes that they're kids and it's hard for them to sit at an adult dinner table for an hour and a half and have an adult conversation and not want to get down and play and fidget. And I think sometimes our expectations are just a little bit too high during the holidays.
I think so. It's fun to have the kids, and that's why we have the little kids table that they can be there, eat the things they like to eat. When they're done, they can go and play, and then you can have an adult conversation without the kids there hearing it. Right. So I think it's expectation tends to be a problem for our parents, and then you have to correct kids when you wouldn't have to if you set a reasonable expectation for them.
Right. Right. What are some fun tips that you've done through the years or have heard of other people doing, especially during that dinner time? What are some fun? I know I've heard people doing coloring placemats or games that the kids will set up around the table.
Yeah, as much as you possibly can, having kids be involved. I think, when we do that, regardless of what your tradition is and what little thing you can do, is that have kids tell you what they would like, and so the placemat is something we can color on, or if they get a special plate that allows them to sit here and be involved for a little while. I remember wanting to be at we had a blue plate, And you got to sit there, and that was at the adult table. But after a while, you sat there, you're like, it's more fun down there with those guys. Yeah. But you got to be there for a little bit, and that was kind of cool. Good behavior should be recognized as soon as you notice kids, and praising them so they can hear you. Maybe they're at the young kids table or whatever, and praising the children for what they're doing well. Got good grades, was cooperative today, helped his little brother make his bed, whatever the case may be. Just recognizing children. So I don't think you have to do a lot. It's so much going on already.
Right.
And so many presents and things I don't go out and buy or get, but just spending time together, doing things together, and involving the kids versus you're going to get going.
Yeah. And when, even when things get crazy busy, that praise sometimes is the first thing that we forget to do. So I'm glad you said that. That's something we need to remember.
Yeah, they notice it, and you'll notice it. It kind of calms everyone down when we just, before the prayer or after the prayer, go around the table and praise your kids. It takes a couple of minutes, and it really pays off in the long run.
Yeah, that's great. What about the people who are brave enough to travel for the holidays? So what are some ways that they can ease that stress? I mean, it's just stressful kind of regardless.
Yeah.
But what are some things that they can do to help make sure behaviors are
Well, I have to agree. I have to say that I do let technology have its way in a vehicle if we're driving.
Right.
The kids kind of have access to that then.
Yeah.
Now they start doing naughty behavior, then that technology is going to go in a timeout box until they can show more consideration or, cooperate better.
Right.
But pretty much I like technology in a vehicle with kids because it kind of takes care of a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And also I've learned to stop a little bit more. Usually we would drive 800, we would, try to, do that, and we would, but I would say I've learned my lesson, and try to do some stops and enjoy being together if you can do that. I know that's not for everyone, but try to have frequent stops where kids can use the restroom so they're not so antsy in the back and they start doing negative behavior. Games to play, interactions to have while you're in the car, and noticing good behavior before it turns bad.
Right. And I think just like in school, with the need for recess and the need to get up and move around, that's another reason I think it's important to stop and take your time. Kids can get some energy out. And
I know my dad would say, everyone use the restroom because we're not stopping. He was serious as hard today, but it probably wasn't the best thing to do. Yeah. All kind of things went on in that station wagon.
Oh yeah. I remember many fights with my sisters traveling. What about, let's see, what are some other things that we can give kids to do or ways to praise them, I guess, when we're traveling?
Well, we have those
lovely ideas.
Well, we have those neat little praise boxes, that kids can notice that you put it in. And when we get to the next rest stop, we take it out and we say what everybody did well, and maybe we get an extra snack or, that kind of thing. Yeah. So it doesn't always have to be that you have to praise them every single step along the way, but that you say, I did notice that, and taking the time to notice it. So using your praise box during that time, or a little jar, or whatever you want to use, so that when you get to the stop and you're having your sandwich or taking that break, notice what they did, and that would be great. I think as much as possible, just trying to be proactive when you're traveling. If you can, try to carry things that kids would need to keep them busy, or if they get antsy, you're on a plane, that can be there's nowhere to go with that. Right. So having that bag of whatever the child might need to keep themselves busy and interested, a little puzzle here, a cracker there, whatever the case may be, a little technology, and read a story, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's great. I had a mom sit next to me. She was reading a story. I really liked it. I was very interested in the story, and the child fell asleep, and that was really cool. Yeah. Wet, little hand wipe things so the kids can have that, because they're going to get messy and dirty and touch all kind of things. So just kind of be proactive, taking a bag of things, be proactive, to catch kids being good.
Mhm.
Tell them what the expectation is. We're going to be traveling for the next hour. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's put a timer on. So you don't have to ask me every minute, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Because it's going to go off, and I'm going to notice the good things that you're doing at the next rest stop. I'll tell you what it is, and if you do really well, you get the special snack.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
So as much as you can, just incorporate things, but don't overdo yourself. It's not, you don't have to entertain children. They can entertain themselves with a piece of string and, I don't know, lint going by their faces. So yeah, I don't feel like you need to do all that much. You're going to go do, it's the holidays. They kind of create themselves. Just be in the moment, enjoy it.
Right.
Don't do too much.
Yeah.
You'll miss it because you're just
So
running.
busy.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We loaded snacks in every bag that we
Mhm.
had. We had 15 different kinds of snacks,
Mhm.
and then the really good snacks that they never got,
Mhm.
we would always put in the bag. So that was like our go-to, we just kept feeding.
Mhm.
It's probably not the best, but
Well, if you can stay away from a lot of sugar, I
Yeah.
know that's like, goes against everything we know about the holiday season, but it can charge kids up, and you're wondering why they're bouncing off the walls and they won't go to sleep, and now they're off of their routine.
right.
So, try to put those as early in the day as you
Mhm.
possibly can if it's got a lot of sugar. And then as you get toward the middle of the day, kind of breaking that down towards less and less of that in their diet. And then before
They can
bed,
sleep.
yeah, so they
Yeah.
can go to sleep, and then they'll really enjoy the season. Versus, let's give them some cheesecake right at bedtime. And,
Right, I think the other thing about traveling too is to be mindful of other parents.
Mm.
There's nothing more frustrating as a parent when your kid is having a meltdown or you're trying to deal with that,
Mhm.
and everyone else around you is going, oh, or,
Mhm.
just visibly frustrated.
Mhm.
We get it. It's difficult, but
Yes,
there's some understanding from
it would be nice.
everyone is
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah, a lady was in the store and she was trying to shop. And she had several children, and one was having a tantrum, and the others were scattering out, and she looked overwhelmed. And I said, "Would you like for me to get this?" And I was put that in there. She's like, "Thank you very much." So just being kind, acts of kindness is great. And then the little children thought, "Oh, well, I want to help too," and so they began to help, and we were doing okay. And so I was going down the same way as she, and she had all these children and a lot of things to do. So, if you can leave the children with someone in shop, that if you can do that, that would be the way to go, versus taking them all with you. But when you see someone out, do something kind and help them if you can, or ask them if they need help. If they say no, then okay. But yeah.
What about commenting on kids' behavior? Is that weird?
If they're being naughty?
No, if they're being good, praising them.
Yes, it is. Other people's children.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I love to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're helping your mommy. Well, you stay with your mom. Good job. And and they, scatter behind their mom or whatever. They're very scared. And, just that kind of interaction kind of breaks up that trip that mom is on.
Yeah.
Someone is praising their kids and noticing, and they might be even better on the next aisle. So you never know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of buying coffee for someone, praise their children, maybe.
Yes. Or buy the coffee and put a price there.
There you go. So one of the things we talked about before we came on was correcting children in front of judgy relatives.
Oh my gosh.
And how difficult that can be.
Mm-hmm.
And just keeping in mind that, it's you disciplining your child, and stepping aside is probably the best thing to do.
Yeah. Get out of that audience, get
It's
away.
just hard, though.
Yeah. And if sometimes people will want to intervene. They'll want to tell you, "Oh, it's okay. He can have that. He's, whatever." And if you just thank you so much for if you could help me with so and so over here, or I'll be right back. If you don't mind stirring the potatoes or whatever, direct them towards something else that they can focus on.
That's a good idea.
And then, kind of when you go in the house, I would tell my sister, my son was working on this. He's working on, following my instructions. He really had a difficult time in the car. So we were could you help me out with that? So when you see him following instructions, so if you tell me to do something, could you praise him for me?
Yeah.
And that's what really helps him. And so I kind of enlist those people versus waiting until he's doing it wrong or there's a problem.
Right.
And having to correct them in him. So
Right.
enlist them when you go in. Like he's had a difficult morning. He's been real, upset and crying. So if you notice he's crying, come and get me. I'll take care of it. No
Mhm.
problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had that issue a lot with the sweets at the end of the day. It would be, oh, I make sure my kids are done,
Mhm.
and then, oh, it's Christmas.
Mhm.
Give them all the sugar they want.
Mhm.
But you're not going home with my child, so
Yes, with this child.
help me out here.
And I accept. I
It's
say,
hard though.
yeah, well, if you make a little basket that has your kid's name on it, and or a little box with the ribbon, and put the candy in there, and how much do you have? It's kind of like
Such
Halloween.
a great idea.
Yeah, and
Yes.
the kids go back. I've got this and I've got that. But
Yes.
it mine all up. Oh well, And so then they can have it for later at a more appropriate time. And breakfast is a wonderful place.
Yeah.
I have no problem with kids eating sweets at breakfast because they can burn those off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I know you probably, but during the holidays, if that was one thing that would change.
Right.
It was to put the sweets during very early in the
Right.
day as much as possible.
I love the idea of taking a little basket that they can
Yeah.
fill up for all the candy that they get
Mhm.
that they're not allowed to eat right then.
Yes.
That they can take with them. What a great idea. Totally doing that this week.
It's like trick or treat. They get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go through and I'll eat all the candy
Oh
out
well,
of the boxes.
there's always that wonderful thing the parents get.
Yep. Looks like we've got a few questions. So how do you deal with but he got more presents than me?
Mm.
I think that's hard when you've got different age kids because
Mhm.
we're definitely hitting that now where the
Mhm.
younger ones got a lot more,
Mhm.
the toys are less expensive and as they get older, they
Yes.
don't want little toys. They
Right.
want one nice gift. Or
Mhm.
how do you deal with that?
Yeah. I don't mind if kids share their feelings. I might pull them away and say, do you really feel he got more than you? And how's that make you feel? Oh, I feel sad. It's okay to feel sad. Sometimes people are going to get more. Some people are going to get less. Things are going to be different. And it's okay to have those feelings. And I pretty much leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out and
They
buy
say,
you more,
right, yeah.
or do, that kind of thing. Or, but things happen where you might feel like you don't get what you want. Is that okay? That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now we move on to the next thing.
Right.
Versus trying to make it better. I'm not,
Right.
Yes, he got a lot of stuff. There are a lot of little things because he's a little guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they came in a lot of boxes. And you got this one thing that costs a lot more. And that's why you got that.
Mm-hmm.
But you feel sad about that. Okay.
Okay.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Good. Did you want to cry about it? No. Okay. All right. So what should we do next? I just put it back in the child's.
Next.
Well, so they can take care of it and problem solve. Well, I want to go back and play. Okay, well, let's go back and play. We can play with him. He's got a lot of stuff over there.
We can go play with his toys.
Yeah.
I have a kid who counts and compares how many gifts everyone has.
Mm.
Also very similar.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that the family teachers did at here on campus that I think I just love, and I actually did it this year,
Okay.
is they got a specific type of wrapping paper for each kid, and they don't put names on there, and so they just know you've got the wrapping paper with the Christmas trees, you've got the wrapping paper with the reindeer, and then in the chaos of Christmas morning, they don't really know how many presents each one has because I found it's when you're leading up to Christmas, that's when the present counting begins. That's when you're looking at the presents under the tree.
Right. But my house, it was different. They didn't see those presents didn't appear under the tree.
Oh yeah.
So they didn't see any presents until the day that they were opening those things. My sister, they opened one present the night before after midnight mass. Then the kids, if they stay up long enough, usually people are asleep by that point. But open one thing and then the next morning they open everything. But it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
I like the idea of not putting any names on that, and so there are presents, but kids are shaking and trying to figure out what the deal is. But however you handle it, I think correcting kids and just saying, it isn't nice to count other people's presents and to comment on that, So let's not do that.
Yeah.
And let's move on.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah. Well, it's just really, there's appropriate things to do, and there's inappropriate things to do. And to count other people's presents is not the appropriate thing to do.
Right.
Let me just point that out to them and then we'll move on to the next thing.
Do you bring in the concept of being grateful for what you're getting, not upset about what you're not getting.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that earlier, and in my house, we do a lot more things together versus getting things. We do things. And so I think I was counseling a parent earlier, and she's like, I don't need another thing. I can't put another thing in my house. And so I said, well, why don't you invest in doing some stuff together and taking pictures of that and recording it and looking back on it, the video of you guys doing this thing. And I have a video of my son. We went to a concert and he danced and won 2 bottles of wine for me. Yay, right? Yeah. But that stays with you. The things you do, not the things you get.
Right.
And so if you could up that, versus maybe have a set amount of things you're gonna buy. Right. Versus everything you saw. Oh, he would like that. He would like that. There's so many gifts that each person's gonna get. Everybody's gonna get 3. Here you go. Then you don't ever have to worry about he got more than I got.
Yeah. Well, and taking the time to think of other activities that can make that day special, other than present opening. It takes the emphasis off the present opening.
Yeah, I think so. As much, and try to mix it up. Have some gifts that are handmade, that are not bought. Yeah, that you took the time to make, and the child took the time to make, and that's one of the gifts they're going to get. Yeah, and things that you're going to do. That's one of the gifts you're going to get. Yeah. Versus everything has to be a thing.
My brother-in-law comes up with a game every year, and that is everybody looks forward to that, like Family Feud or Jeopardy or something, and it's all family questions, and it's just so fun. So now my kids are asking to be helping invent the new game and invent what the game's going to be this year, and so it's just it's a great tradition. It's fun.
Yes. When my mom was alive, and she did a wonderful job, they had a quilt.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and so
added to?
Yeah, added to, and so that was brought out and stories were told, and
I love that.
They, she would stitch pictures in it, all 9 yards.
Man,
and unfortunately, when she passed, them, that did pass.
Yeah,
it's sad. We should bring it back. So maybe finding an old tradition and bring it back to life.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that. All right.
Oh wow.
Let's see. Any suggestions on addressing gift exchanges and expectations? We discussed with my kindergartner that spending time with one another is our focus, not presents. He went to school and threw a fit because he didn't get to go shopping at school for us. Then staff allowed him to shop anyways at Santa's workshop. On one hand, he was being kind, shopping for others. On the other, his tantrum was rewarded. That's hard. It's hard when kids go to school and different people have different things and focus on different things and are trying. Every parent's trying to instill something different in their kids.
Yes. And what might be our goals or what we want for our children might not always coincide with what someone else might say or what the group might be doing. In regards to this particular thing where he has a tantrum and then he gets to go shop, even though it was first, I agree with mom there, dad, that that should not have happened. Yeah. I would have probably delayed and said, because you had
talk to the parents.
Yeah. Let's delay. It's not like he can't shop.
Right.
He's going to maybe write out his shopping list. Now he's got to delay because he was having a tantrum, and that's the consequence. He doesn't get to go right away. So versus taking it all away, I might say he's delayed it. He can write down his gifts, and maybe those could be bought if that's something, the parent agrees to. But talk to parents before you let their kids do stuff, and when things happen, if a kid comes back to me and they shopped when I told them not to do that, then I hold them responsible for that behavior. And there will be some discipline and a consequence for disobeying that. Right. So when he gets home, even though the school allowed them and they did that, okay, that happened. But now here's the consequence for not following what we asked you to do. Right. Or not to do.
Yeah. That's hard though, because that, he's being nice, buying presents for others. Yeah.
And the consequence doesn't have to, when you have a tantrum, it doesn't have to be that you have to take something away or they have to do a chore. It's like you really got a problem with having a tantrum. So you're going to practice calming yourself down before you get to go play this. Show me how to take a deep breath. Yeah. Show me, write down your feelings instead of acting them out. So I delay them getting to the good stuff to work on the social skill they obviously have a problem with.
Got it. That's great.
Yeah. So don't
So
think
focus on the tantrum that they
Right.
had, not
that I have to
That
give them
they
a
got to it,
consequence
yeah,
so they'll
right.
never breathe that again. I mean, a consequence is just a teaching tool. So
Right.
sometimes parents don't want to follow through on it, and it really helps the child know this is not acceptable to have a fit, and then I get what I want.
Right. That's great. All right, let's see. How do you deal with other kids realizing the differences between them and maybe their autistic cousins? Do you recommend any books or ideas?
Yeah, there's some really great books on our Boys Town Press. That, you know, Diane Kennedy really writes really well. She has children of her own. One has autism, one who has ADHD.
Yeah.
From a mom's perspective, I think. I think Great Days Ahead, of course.
Great Days Ahead is good, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good book. But I think, you know, kind of sitting down and talking to kids who don't have this disorder, like, you know, how does this work? And I did make the mistake when my children were little, not really explaining how their big brother, you know, has this problem. I didn't know if they would understand it, but I should have, because we got in a situation in the car where he was kind of having a tantrum and the kids got scared. So I needed to kind of tell them ahead of time. And I learned my lesson there where I said, okay,
Right.
I need to set them up. Okay, we're going to go visit. This is how it's going to go. If this happens, okay, so here's how you take the deep breath. You
Right.
know.
Right.
And so don't act like it's not there, because it's there and kids can see it.
Right.
And what should they do when they're in that situation? And they might not know how to help, you know, that person, you know, and how to include that person, not to isolate them.
Right.
Because sometimes the kids just go and play and leave that child all by themselves.
Right.
So, you know, my kids would definitely get more privilege when they played with their, you know, sibling versus leaving them.
I was thinking that's great. It's give them a reward for and discussing that beforehand, you know, just getting a reward for including
and it can
that
be
child and letting,
it doesn't have to be anything. As much as I praise my kids, and then they get to spend time with me or with daddy, or you know, do something fun, and you know, or we all did it together with our son and our kids. So
Julia Cook has a good book, The Judgmental Flower. I mean, it's not specifically on
but it's
autism, but it's just very much about inclusion and those types of situations that might be good.
Go up to our website.
Yes,
great books up there.
All right. Let's see. I think we've gotten through all of them, didn't we? Yes, we did. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we got through everything. Thanks everybody for joining us, and have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. And hope your kids are benefiting from all the wonderful parenting that you're going to do.